Hi everyone. So in this video, we are going to work with expressions, primarily evaluating expressions. This is another one of those sections that definitely looks and sounds a lot worse than it actually is. This lesson's pretty simple. I hope you feel that way anyway. So first fancy word here, an expression is just a math problem. Equations have equal signs. So we're not going to be writing or using equal signs in this. An expression is just the math problem. So if I said like 3 plus 2 equals 5, that full sentence is an equation. But just to say 3 plus 2, that's my math problem. That's my expression. You're going to be asked to evaluate the expressions. Evaluate just means to solve. In most cases with these expressions, they're going to tell you what numbers to plug in for your variable, and it literally just means plug it in, solve it, do the math, get your answer. Whenever you have a number that's beside your variable, or if you have two variables that are next to each other, it's going to be really important that you remember that means to multiply. So let me show you some. We are going to evaluate these expressions if we know that A equals 2, B equals 5, and C equals -3. So what I'm going to do is rewrite my problems, but instead of writing the variables, the letters that you see, I'm going to replace them with the numbers. It helps me a lot if I put blanks and then I fill in the blanks. So A plus B is going to be something plus something. That first something, I'm going to pull out the A and I'm going to replace it with 2 because I'm told in the directions that A is really a 2. And then B, I'm going to pull that out and replace it with a 5. A plus B really means 2 plus 5. 2 plus 5 is 7. So your answer for number 1 is just a 7. Number 2, now 4B doesn't mean just stick the 5 there and call it 45. When you have a number beside a variable, it means to multiply. So I'm going to rewrite this as 4 times something plus something. That first something, I'm going to pull out the B and I'm going to replace it with 5. And then I'm going to pull out the C and I'm going to replace it with -3. 4 times 5 is 20. So then we have 20 plus -3. Now, in reality, that would be written in parentheses because you wouldn't want to have the plus and the minus sign right beside each other. But either way, if I have 20 positives and 3 negatives, I've got $20 in my pocket. I need to pay 3 so I can pay my bill and still have 17 left over. I have 17 more positives than I do negatives. Number 3, 6B doesn't mean put 65. It means 6 times B. And then that fraction bar is another way of saying divide. So I'm going to get that answer and I'm going to divide it by A. So my first blank, I pull out the B, I replace it with a 5. My second blank, I pull out the A, I replace it with a 2. 6 times 5 is 30. So this really says 30 divided by 2. My answer for number 3 is 15. Number 4, AB. Again, when they're right beside each other, it means to multiply. Please don't just put 25. It's not just a 25. It means something times something. That first something is a 2, and the second something is a 5. 2 times 5 gives us an answer of 10. Number 5 definitely looks more intimidating than it is. So I've got 2 numbers that I'm multiplying. I've got 2 more numbers that I'm multiplying, and then I'm going to add those answers together. Instead of B, I'm going to replace that or substitute in its value of 5. Instead of C, I'm going to replace that with a -3. And really, remember, we would put negatives in parentheses. Instead of A, I'm going to put a 2. And instead of C, again, I'm going to put -3. 5 times -3. Well, 5 times 3 is 15. I only have 1 negative, so he's sad and lonely. He doesn't have a buddy to partner up with, so he makes the whole thing negative. 2 times 3 is 6. I only have 1 negative, so he's sad and lonely and makes the whole thing negative. And now I'm going to add those two together. If I owe 15 and now I owe 6 more, then really I owe 21. Or think of it this way. I've got 15 negative signs. I've got 6 negative signs. So altogether, I have 21 negative signs. Those two do not come together to make a plus sign. That rule only applies when you're multiplying and dividing. It has nothing to do with when you're adding. Last one on this page. Now, number 6, B minus C. This is an example of when putting blanks first really, really helps. Let me show you the common mistake first. I'll do this in another color. So the common mistake is to write down 5 and then let's see, minus 3 and get a 2. Did you see it? Did you see the mistake? This is not the right answer. Please don't do this. If you didn't see the mistake, let me point it out. If you put blanks first, you have something minus something. In that first blank, I'm going to put a 5. But in the second blank for C, it's not just a 3. It's a negative 3. And remember, really, negatives would be in parentheses. Now, in my classes, we call these face problems. And if you haven't been in my class or watched one of my videos, you kind of have to use your imagination a little bit. But it looks like 2 squinty eyes with a big curvy nose. Just pretend it looks like a face. And we've talked about when you see a face, you replace with a plus. So this is really saying 5 plus 3. It means do the opposite of a negative or do the opposite of subtract. 5 plus 3 gives me a final answer of 8. Okay, I want to do some more, but what I would recommend is pausing this, leave it on this screen, try those 6 problems real quick, and then resume the video and you can see if your answers match mine. Okay, hopefully you did that. Hopefully you paused it and tried it. Math gets so much better when you actually allow yourself the chance to try it and make the mistakes and learn from them. Number 1, xz really means x times z. I'm going to replace those with their values of negative 10 and negative 4. 10 times 4 is 40. Those two negatives can partner up. They're buddies. They're happy. So it's a positive answer since they're in a positive mood. Number 2, that's going to be something divided by something. That first something, y, is an 8. And the second number, z, is a negative 4. 8 divided by negative 4 will give you a negative 2. Number 3, x minus y. So something minus something. That first something is a negative 10. And then for the second blank, I put in an 8. Now remember, subtract and negative, they're really interchangeable. It's the same symbol. So I see a negative 10 and I see a negative 8. 10 negatives and 8 more negatives, or I owe one person $10, I owe another person $8. Altogether, I owe 18. That's 18 negatives in all. Number 4, same thing again. I'm going to put my blanks. I really, really would encourage you to put the blanks because so often it'll save you from missing a negative sign. This one, let's see, y is 8. Z is negative 4. Now remember, in reality, you would separate those two signs with parentheses. So I just made a face problem for myself. This becomes 8 plus 4. Whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself and writing my answer. You should have had 8 plus 4. Oh, goody, now it's not writing. You know what, folks? We'd made it quite a while without any technical difficulties. Now here we go. 8 plus 4 gives you an answer of 12. If you tried it on your own, did you get that? If you got 12, be really proud of yourself. That problem, even though it doesn't look as bad as some of the others, that kind of problem where it's minus and negative is the most commonly missed on these expressions. Number 5, I'm going to put something plus something. My first blank, I fill in with a negative 10. My second blank, I fill in with a -4. -10 and -4. Altogether, I would owe $14. And then the last one of these, 3y means 3 times whatever y is, plus whatever x is. Y is 8, and then x is -10. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 plus -10. So I have $24. I owe 10. I've got enough to pay that, and then I would still have 14 left over. I have 14 more positives than I do negatives. Let's look at some word problems. Now, when you're asked to write an expression for a word problem, you need to remember that variables represent what you don't know. In some cases, it may be one unknown amount. Other problems, you may use a couple of variables because there's two different things that could change. But whatever it is that you don't know or that you're eventually going to have to fill in, that's what starts out as a variable. Sometimes they'll tell you what variable to use. Like maybe you're doing a word problem where you have to find how many cookies to bake, and they say use C for cookies. If they don't tell you, then the most common is to use a lowercase x. Otherwise, you can use any lowercase letter that represents whatever that thing is that you don't know, the thing that you're trying to find, that you're using the variable for. You want to use a letter that makes sense for it. If your problem is about how many apples, don't randomly use Y just because you like the letter Y. Or if you're trying to find how much money is in a savings account, M for money would be okay, S for savings, A for account. Don't randomly put a T because you like the letter T. Make sure it makes sense. Don't use an O because an O looks too much like a 0. And you want to be careful with your T's and your L's. Give them little tails, little hooks at the end. Because without that, a T can look too much like a plus sign, and an L can get confusing with a 1. So be careful with those. Make sure that you use lowercase, though. Capital letters are only used for formulas, like capital A for area, P for perimeter, V for volume. A formula is an equation that works on a certain type of problem every time. Because those are special, they get the capital letters. Everything else needs to have lowercase. I want to do 2 of these, and then I'd like for you to try one, and then that'll be the end of our video here. Number 1 says a website charges 99 cents to download a game and a $12.49 membership fee. Write an expression that gives the total cost in dollars to download G games. Let's pause there for a second. So if you noticed, they mentioned that they want us to use G for games. So how much you pay depends on how many games you purchase, right? No matter what, you have to pay that membership fee. That doesn't change. But the 99 cents, it could be that, or it could be 2 of those, 3 of those. It depends on how many games you purchase. It varies. That's why it's called a variable, because it can change. It can vary. So I'm going to write down 99 cents G. That represents 99 cents times however many games we want to buy. Plus, we have to pay just one time a $12.49 membership fee. There's my expression. I don't want to put equals beside it. I don't want to put my answer yet. I want to leave it just like that for my expression. Then I'm going to read the rest of the problem because now there's a second step for this. So in my second step, it says, then find the cost of downloading 6 games. So now I'm going to take that problem that I just wrote, but I'm going to pull out the G and I'm going to replace it with the 6, just like we were doing in the problems before. So I'm going to take 99 cents times 6, and then I'm going to add $12.49. Let's see what that is. You can use your calculator on these. So 0.99 times 6 gives me $5.94. And that makes sense because 99 cents is almost $1. So 6 of those should be almost $6. And then I'm going to add to that $12.49. $6,000,000.49. Those 6 games plus the membership fee would cost us a total, oh goody, doesn't want to write. Hello. There we go. Would cost us a total of $18.43. So I would need both of those for my answer. I would need the expression and I would need the $18.43. Let's look at another one. Number 2, we're going on a field trip. I wish, if it weren't for the days of COVID right now. The 7th grade math classes are going on a field trip. The field trip will cost $7 per student. Write an expression to find the cost of the field trip for S students. Let's pause there because they just told me what they want for an expression. So my math problem, the total cost, every student who's going costs us $7. So think of it as like every time a student steps on the bus, you collect their 7. So that's going to happen however many times a student steps on the bus. Right now, we don't know how many students are going. So let's just call that, let's see, they tell us to use, they told us to use S. I was going to say if they hadn't told us, let's use S for students or just a generic X, but it's going to be 7 times the number of students. So my expression is just a simple 7S. Don't put an equals with it. Don't put your answer. Just put 7S. Now go on to the next part. What is the total cost if 26 students go on the trip? So now I'm going to pull out that variable and I'm going to replace it with the value that they gave me. So I'm going to take 7 times 26 and I find out the total cost is going to be $182. Okay, I've got one more. So what I would encourage you to do is pause this and give it a try. For this one, I hope you know that we are assuming all horses have 4 legs and all chickens have 2 legs. So pause it, give it a shot, and then resume the video and we'll see if we match. Okay, so write an expression to represent the total number of legs on H, horses, and C, chickens. Every horse has 4 legs, so that's 4 times however many horses there are. And I'm also counting the chickens. Every chicken has 2 legs, so that's 2 times however many chickens there are. There's my expression. Now they want me to go ahead and do the math if we know that there's 5 horses and 6 chickens. So I'm going to take 4 legs times 5 horses plus 2 legs times 6 chickens. 4 times 5 is 20. Order of operations, I need to do the multiplying before I add. 2 times 6 is 12. Add them together, there would be 32 animal legs in all. So that concludes this lesson on evaluating expressions. Hopefully you got something out of it and you're now able to do your homework. If you need more help, please reach out. Let me work with you. Let me see what I can do to help clear this up for you. You know how to get a hold of me. My students, you've got all my contact information. If you're not one of my students and you just come across this, then please feel free to subscribe, comment on my video. There's my school email. You can even email me. I'd be glad to help you if you need me to. Okay? Thanks. Bye.